Hi guys. Alright, this is the second video on the meat locker because there's lots to cover here, okay? I want to be very honest with you guys about something with this journal and with all the other things where I do a lot of writing and a lot of things that come up and in the videos and things that he has me write down. When I am presenting something, a lot of times God will speak to me about something, and it's not at that moment the time to speak it when I'm trying to present from past lessons. And I'm not complaining. I understand God this way because we're constantly learning and listening. The more that you're able to listen, it becomes very constant that you're hearing God's voice. It becomes almost necessary in guidance, I believe, just for accountability. Okay. There are some places that he is taking me that have to do with this meat. And for instance, this picture that I'm seeing with the ox, with the cow versus the sheep. Okay, I'm seeing the opposition here, and I'm seeing the qualities of God are being rebelled against. Okay, this has been going on for a long time, all right? I want to talk about that more, so there might be a part 3, maybe even a part 4 to this particular series on the meat, okay? Remember I told you there are 2 sides to this meat market. I want to make sure that you understand the very first part of meat market. It has to deal with being in a frozen world with meat being distributed like carcass that evil rebellion does to us. And what it is for, it's to distribute out a desolate and hungry nation. Now, what do I mean by that? Sometimes it's difficult for me to explain to you what it is I'm feeling or what it is I'm understanding. What sin and rebellion has done is it has devoured man to take man away from God. This is an important principle that you and I need to understand. When you look at the opposites of things, you need to understand, 1, that God is in both of them, and 2, you automatically need to be discussing with the Lord what you're seeing, because He's going to show you His purpose. And when you understand His purpose and you understand potential and production, you can see God in both of these sides, because one of these sides is spirit. It is truth. It's usually the one that's easiest seen. All right? It's the one that, for me, is lit up, okay, and bright. But on the other side of it, just as equally as important, you'll need to understand what that means in the flesh. And the reason that you need to know that, guys, is this. If you are being called by the Lord to witness, right, and you have your 2 witnesses, they're your eyes and your ears, all right? If you've been called to witness, you are going to need to know both sides. It's crucial that you understand both sides, because in your vision, you need to separate the 2, because what God is going to show you and reveal to you is that there is a division in the world. Okay, and the deception that has come has blurred the lines of understanding for most people. Okay? Right. You want to become that woman or that man of wisdom. And you want to understand the things that God shows you, and you want to walk in those in freedom And you want to walk in those in confidence with your eyes wide open. Remember, He has told us eyes wide open. You're going to need to see both sides of things. There is a meat market that sin, rebellion has created. The world is a meat market. It is a frozen, cold place because man's hearts are far from God. This was no different than in the days of Noah. You know how this stemmed? Where it stemmed from? After the garden? You know the effects of sin after the garden? You got murder. That's exactly what we talked about when we talked about meat, corpse. What did rebellion bring Adam and Eve? Separation from God. It raped Eve. Okay, it birthed in her something new. It birthed in her the deception. What was it intended to do? Take her from her husband. Take her from her Lord. There are many people that I meet. I met this one dear lady while I was on my trip. Okay? God has not divided you from your spouse if you're married and there's a division between you. God has not divided you from your spouse. The effects of sin have divided you from your spouse. You need to look no further than the two of you who were supposed to be one in your marriage union. And whether or not you think you are one, to God you are. If you're keeping your vow in your covenant of union, you haven't broke your promise. God views you in relationship with your spouse as one. Keeping that relationship alive is a crucial foundation to having a relationship with God. But if you are in a relationship with a spouse who is broken and who is not living in relationship with the Lord and has no intimacy and does not walk in the Spirit, that divide hasn't come from God. The divide came in the deception of the one who is sinning. Sin, whether it be in man or woman, separates themselves from God and from their mate. We're going to see this word mate again in this series. When I say series, I mean this is video 2 on the meat. Still part of the lessons from my camping journal. But because I'm limited to 15 minutes, okay, I cannot do a full video. So this part on the meat is going to be longer videos, okay? It'll have part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4. I don't know how long it'll go, okay? I've got about 6 note cards full, and I'm going to go until I finish with it. Okay, I like to start when I finish. If you are married to an unfaithful spouse, you still should keep your part of the responsibility. Because you're not doing it for any other reason than the vow you made to God. God will reward you for keeping that vow. Now, if it is the decision of your spouse to separate from you, you cannot do anything about that. What you can do is make your decision. And your decision needs to be based on what you understood your vow to be between you, God, and others, which were your witnesses. Okay. In the meat market, there are hanging pieces of meat that are bodies that have been devoured by sin. Sin is making a mockery of God by parading out naked fleshly, stripped, bare bodies for consumption. It is an abomination to the Lord when He is desiring to file you in line, to give you your marching orders, and to take you to the kingdom where you serve the one true King. You cannot get to that place if you belong in the other army. You're going to belong in one army or the other. If sin has overtaken you and you're a dead carcass, you're going to be devoured and eaten like flesh. Diseased. Your body will become diseased spiritually. And I believe that the Lord is showing me that we're going to see the effects of disease on the physical body of man. And we've already seen it in the form of cancer. It's eaten away at organs, flesh, and the body. Please don't send me any messages and tell me that someone that you dearly love had cancer and you know them to be a very good person, and that you can't believe that I'm saying that cancer is what killed them. Guys, God has a reason for everything, and He knows how your life is going to expire, and He knew it before He ever allowed you to be born. Before you were in your mother's womb, He knew you. If you're living today, He already knows the rest of your story. He can look down at me right now and He can tell if I'm going to have one more day, 10 more days, 100 more days, or 10 more years. That is not my determination. I live day by day, just as if it were my last, because I'm not promised tomorrow, and neither are you. If you are in the process of becoming the spiritual leader that God is wanting you to be, and He is training you, there's some very simple, and they're really not simple, but there's no need to make them complicated. That's what I mean by simple. There's some things that you need to remember, that you need to remind yourself every day. One, take yourself out of it. Okay? Don't learn not to become offended. All right? If the Lord has called you to something, do that calling, unless you know there's an end to it, and move on. All right? Continually working. Continually working. If God has called you to that, do it. All right. This meat market, you're going to need to understand what you're coming into. Okay? You're coming into a market of slavery, of selling and butchering of bodies that sin has done into the world. And you are going to mourn for them. You don't want to see anyone perish, as does the Lord. Man's own decisions have brought them. Their own choices have brought them their own consequences. If you are aware of a choice that will bring a consequence, if it happens in someone and you know, you cannot look upon them and see any growth, and you know they're cursed, open your vision to another and keep moving. This is for Julia. Julia, you know the message that you just sent me? The Lord had me draw this picture last night. I saw an open mouth. I've only got 30 seconds to describe this, okay? I'll probably put it in the next video. It's like a horse's mouth. The stallion's mouth, open wide. Okay, I saw teeth. And I don't really think that these are real teeth. But what He's showing me here about this is devouring up. And I'm seeing Him chomping down. And what I'm seeing is pieces of hay and straw that's coming down. Okay, it will not be long, guys, and you're going to see much more division in the world. Gotta go. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.